my mother, the procedure went well. You said so yourself. Clean margins, you're discharging her today.
The cancer came back.
Okay, stop. No, my mom is Maria Rambeau. Look it up. Look it up, Maria Rambeau.
I don't understand what's happening, but you need to listen to me. Maria died 3 years ago. No. Which was 2 years after you...
After I what? After I what?
After you disappeared.
Hello and welcome back to A Stark Contrast, where we discuss the differences and similarities from Marvel Comics to their MCU counterparts. And we're your hosts, Geoffrey
and Dai.
Hello, and welcome back, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Hello. We are here.
We're here. We're back.
Yeah.
Our last real episode for the year. Which is kind of crazy.
I know.
It's
kind of just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild. Time flies. And so
it really does.
And you know, like, we kind of mentioned this in the last episode, but like, not only is time flying, but like, now that the floodgates have opened and the shackles have been removed, like, stuff is just pouring out left and right. And so, like, it seems like they're trying to jam everything into the last bits of December while they still can when it comes to like all the marketing stuff that's coming out.
Yeah, everyone has to fill out their marketing budgets, right?
Right.
You gotta use up their marketing budget.
Finish that Q4.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So top of the list that I have here, Madame Web. The official posters are out.
Oh yeah, I did see those. Yeah.
It's basically a poster and a variant of the same poster.
Basically. Yeah.
And in true form, Sony form, it's fine. It's fine.
It says the name of the movie.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
It shows who's in it.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Something
I'm still kinda...
we won't harp on this too long, but I saw one like tweet on Twitter once. I'm still refusing to call it X.
Yeah.
There was just like, I think it was one of those things that you quote tweet and you respond with it.
Yeah.
And then the tweet was, they're like, what's one thing about the Sony, like the Sonyverse movies that like you have to say or whatever. And someone was like, there's literally no Spider-Man in any of them.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, it's pretty true.
It's wild, right? Yeah. None of them.
Can't really be mad at that comment as much as like,
It's the truth. It's the truth. It's kind of crazy because even like Morbius, you know, like they had cut that brief, whatever it was, that Tobey's Spider-Man was graffitied on the wall. Like that didn't make it into the final cut.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh wow, he's like not in any of these films.
Yeah, like every Sonyverse movie can have
Venom. Yeah.
Can have every. Yeah. It can be about anything. It just can't have Spider-Man in it.
Can't have Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oy vey. So yeah, that's fun. Anyway, on to actual Spider-Man news. Despite 7 nominations in this year's Game Awards, Marvel Spider-Man 2 got 0 wins.
Pain. At least I was in
0. How is that possible?
At least like 1, like even if it wasn't like Game of the Year, because there's a pretty good amount for Game of the Year.
Performance and like I don't know what else was there.
Yeah,
I really wanted to go. Like 80% of why I wanted to go, I was really trying hard for tickets because I always forget that when they're on sale. And then I almost bought a resale for like $150. And then I was like, oh, maybe they'll go down the day of. And then I checked the day of and they were like $600, $700. I was like, never mind. And I wanted to go because I was like, oh, Spider-Man's going to take so many awards. I want to be there. And it's also, you know, Last of Us 10th anniversary. I was like, oh, maybe they'll do something. And so neither of those things happened. Yeah. Aside the fact that they were like, oh, you know, a new version of Last of Us Part 2 is coming out. But yeah, like not one award.
Pain.
That's really unfortunate. But an upside is that, I mean, I guess it's delayed, so maybe it's not so good. But New Game Plus, I guess, has been
I'll take it. I need me some DLCs.
Yeah, I wonder. What do you have an idea of what you think it might be?
Maybe something with the chameleon. like we saw.
Yeah, like we said too. More Mysterio,
Maybe, possibly, or maybe introduce another like low level threat, like how they did
Stiltman.
Guy's never gonna get let go of
I'm
Stillman.
waiting. Oh, sorry, Bucky. I didn't need to wake you up. Yeah, I'm waiting.
Because what did they have in the last one? It was a Black Cat, and then it was the Hammerhead one.
Hammerhead.
So
yeah,
we'll see. Hopefully, it's either the same amount or just one big DLC. But maybe Chameleon. I think that would. Yeah,
that makes most sense for sure.
Yeah,
I like it. Also, speaking of games, they did drop a new, fresh trailer for a game no one saw coming.
Oh yeah, Blade. I forget the name of the studio that was making it. It's not Insomniac, but I forgot.
It's the other one.
Yeah, I totally forgot the name, but yeah.
No, I'm super down for it. What is it? Is it New Orleans? No, it's French New Orleans. French New Orleans.
Possibly. That sounds familiar.
It's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But super down, super duper down. I'm already excited. I had actually commented on Agent M's Instagram because I was like, I love that everyone's all in and it wasn't even gameplay. It was
it was just like a teaser of like, oh, we're going to make this.
Super teaser. Yeah. And it looks incredible already. But I am waiting for the other Logan shoe to drop. Like, when is Wolverine happening?
The Wolverine? I mean,
they got recently hacked.
Oh, Insomniac, yeah.
Insomniac got hacked because of the, like, whatever they were trying to do. But I'm curious when that's coming out. It should be any month now, right?
No, I think it still takes some time. Yeah,
summer,
maybe holiday next year.
Wow, really?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I would rather just them take time on a game because games take a long time to develop. So
yeah, for sure, because theirs was also a teaser, right? The Wolverine.
Yeah,
teaser.
no gameplay. So like, not even gameplay has been revealed.
Just at the bar.
But also relating to video games, E3. There's no more E3.
No more E3. Did you ever go to E3?
No, especially in its. I mean, because I was like young at the time, so at its peak heyday.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't really convince my parents to take me to that.
And it was a higher end too. Like, it costs a bit more than just Anime Expo or Los Angeles
but
Comic
it was just like the like thing to be at if you're really into games, which I am.
Yeah.
So, but
I went to 2 of them ever. Yeah. One a long time ago, and then one maybe, I don't know, it's maybe 5 or 6 years ago. But it is difficult to get into a little bit, because you have to.
It was always like
of some sort,
because there was always like something good like releasing
always
every year,
and the showroom floor is dope.
Yeah,
so it was really cool.
Sad, but
super sad. I'm
kind of. I guess it goes to show like where like video games are now.
Yeah, I wonder if there's going to be some sort of, I don't know, maybe somebody will come out of the trenches and save the industry, so to speak.
Yeah, or
combine forces, but I don't know. We'll see. But RIP E3. So on the studio side of things, Marvel Studios recently had a screening of What If Season 2 on the Disney lot.
Yes.
How and when, I don't even understand. All I saw was that it popped up on my feed and I was like, that would have been nice to know about.
Was it for fans or was it for...
I can't really tell. It's a bit
employees?
I think it was employees as well as like
plus ones,
bloggers, and such.
Like press thing.
Yeah, I think it was a media event, so it was kind of like but yeah, the reviews seem pretty great so far, pretty positive, all things considered.
Yeah.
So pretty stoked. The new season debuts next Friday, December 22nd, and for 9 days straight with new episodes. So be sure to check it out. And also, it like just for FYI for people who haven't watched the first season, watching season 1 isn't totally necessary, but it'll definitely help with some underlying context.
I think there'll be definitely some recurring storylines and/or characters.
Yeah,
but
not. Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah.
You don't need to watch it.
Yeah, at all. But yeah, so I guess if that's all of our Marvel news for now, we may as well move on to our final character 2023.
Yep.
But a reminder first, we are not experts and we don't claim to be. We're just a couple of nerds nerding out. And in this episode, we are going to nerd out over Monica Rambeau, aka Photon.
Woo!
Created by Roger Stern and John Romita Jr. Monica's first appearance, The Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 16.
Interesting.
October 1982.
Oh, wow.
Do you want to guess the cover price? 1982. But here's a curveball. I'll give you this hint at least. It's also an annual. Means more pages. So it's a little more than your normal comic.
Oh, so it's like a bigger
It's
size
like 2
comic.
times as big. Yeah.
1982. Okay,
1982.
all right, guys, go down memory lane with me the last couple episodes. We're saying the 1960s, right? It was about like 10.
Yeah.
10. You get into the mid 60s, maybe late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
It was at 12 cents, and then 70s were 25. I think I remember it being either 15 or 25. Oof.
Yeah.
Now we're in the 80s.
Now you're 80s and an annual.
Can I ask the question of what is the average page of a average number of pages in a comic book?
It would be, without ads, 16 to 21.
So this annual would be
About 40, 50 pages, depending. If there's a bonus story. So there's a double and then a small short or something. And then, of course, letters to the editor and whatever.
oof. I wanna like I wanna say I wanna go around, the triple digit lane.
What's your triple dig?
Like just like a dollar. But because but now we're in the 80s, but I'm also thinking like, okay, maybe a 75, 85.
Let me just say, king size annual.
That's what I'm saying. The annual size is screwing my mind up.
Final answer.
I'm gonna go $1. I'm gonna just put a range of $1.25.
It's like The Price is Right. And you're going, do.
I know, no. Like, give me $2.99, Bob.
Dude. You should have stayed at 1.
Oh, it was $1.
I was like, don't say 25. Don't say 25. So here's the cover
Pain.
of the Amazing Spider-Man King Size Annual number 16 from 1982.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's not supposed to be her.
That's her, yeah.
That's her?
That's her. Because
Oh,
it
wow.
does say on the cover, presenting the exciting origin of the all-new, all-different, all-terrific Captain Marvel. So it was a full introduction to a very new character. And they're
Wow.
like, of course, they're not going to give it to you on the cover. You got to open the book. You
gotta
got to
read
buy
it.
the book
Yeah.
to get it. And of course, you see the Avengers awestruck. And this team at the time, well, it wasn't just the Avengers looking at it now. It's Thor, Iron Man, The Thing, Spider-Man, Captain America, Hawkeye, and Wasp. So they're all like, whoa, what is that powerful, weird, I wouldn't even know what to call it. You can't even tell if it's her front or back, which is kind of funny too.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
what are we looking at?
I
here?
guess you're looking at her back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's just a powerful beam of light. But the highest that you could get of this comic book right now on short boxed is a CGC graded 9.8 for about $1,100. While on eBay, a CGC 9.8 goes for twice as much and then some for $2,500. The fair market value is actually $500 to $700. So both people are overcharging up the wazoo for this book. Yeah. You should be getting it for less than $1,000 for sure. But to be expected. Monica's like, even at 1982, she's still a relatively modern character. And she also has a number of first appearances. Like, this is her very, very, very first appearance as Captain Marvel, but she's got a couple in the basket. So, you could get one of every single different iteration of her characters, but we'll talk about that soon enough. As for the lowest grades of this book, so Shortbox has a CGC 3.0 for $39, and then eBay has a CGC 6.0 for $75. I don't know how this math works.
Oh my
it's
gosh.
Very interesting. I don't think people they don't seem to be cross-checking like sources, which is
They're like,
weird.
screw it. This is how much I want.
This is how much I want for it. And of course, you can get a raw copy at any particular quality, depending on the seller, for about $15 to $20. So that's not bad. If you're a Monica Rambeau lover, like,
Yeah.
dang, that's a pretty good deal. So, first exposure to the character.
I mean, it has to be WandaVision.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Or Captain Marvel. Well, I guess WandaVision.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, right?
When it comes to Monica Rambeau Photon, oh, well, yeah. I was thinking strictly like
An adult.
in the suit, like
Yeah.
with the powers.
Okay.
And I was like, boo, I
Yeah.
went straight to, to WandaVision. But I mean,
Yeah.
yes, technically, yeah, because when it came to Captain Marvel, you just know Monica as a child, and you didn't really think
Yeah.
about it. Because I wasn't, well, I think I was made aware until after the movie where you told me like, oh, that's Photon, like
Yeah.
Carol Danvers' friend is
Yeah.
Photon.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. But I just think of the scene in WandaVision where she's going through the Scarlet
field.
Witch walls,
Yeah.
and she gets her
Scarlet Witch
powers,
walls.
and I was just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's good stuff, man.
yeah.
Oh man, she had always been kind of like on the side somewhere. Like the Captain Marvel thing actually hit after the films, I feel. Like I knew her more as Photon and Spectrum because she has been in different books that I've read.
Yeah.
Just like this, for instance, like it's so far back, but like she's just been integrated into random places, and she's always kind of part of or teaming up with some other character that I was really into at whatever time. And so she's kind of been there for a while, but I would say that I wasn't fully aware of her until more modern ages, probably the last 10 years or so, maybe 20,
Okay.
not 10 or 15 years. Definitely not from the get-go, but before the cinematic films, of course. And so I've always liked her. She's a bit spicier in the comics, if you can even believe it. Like she's got great, like Tiana Paris like really portrays her well. And of course we'll get to her soon, but she already portrays her with such a spice that it's like, dang, like you really like this character. In the books, I feel like she's even got a little more of it. She's got a bit more of an attitude. And so it's always lent the character herself like it gives her a great service. It does her a great service because she stands out from the usual female character superhero type of, during her era.
Yeah.
She was more than just a pretty face. But from that, we will read from the mini book. And so in the mini book, she's actually listed as Spectrum. And for your information, 5 feet 8 inches,
Oh my gosh.
130 pounds.
Uh-huh.
And the blurb says, exposure to an extra-dimensional disruptor weapon imbued Monica Rambeau with energy manipulating powers that she has used in various heroic guises, including Captain Marvel, Photon, Pulsar, and Spectrum. The latter more aptly describing the wide array of Monica's energized abilities. And so this is actually the first suit that I was exposed to her as. It's kind of similar as it is different than the MCU, but they did this thing where they're like, let's throw a trench coat on her for no reason. And so she's got the black and white with a black trench.
Love that.
Yeah, just
Mysterious.
yeah, the mysterious and edgy. Look, yeah, so pretty on the nose. It's as we'll get into her origin, it is actually kind of interesting because as I was writing, I was like, oh yeah, no, her origin's pretty different from WandaVision. And then I started writing it out and I was like, actually,
Oh, really?
it's actually got some interesting parallels. So Monica's first appearance is already interesting because she comes from the Spider-Man book, right? Like I just mentioned. And so like there's no beating around the bush either. Like we're immediately introduced to her. Like you turn the page, boom, she's on the page.
Oh, wow.
Monica Rambeau. And it's interesting because she's a bypasser. She's just somebody getting off a train, taking public transportation, and Peter Parker is being a man, and he's instantly taken by her.
Wow.
And so he's just doing his own thing, and then she walks by, and he's like, "Oh, hello there." And he He even says in this thought bubble, oh, sorry, she was taking the bus. He says in this thought bubble, he's like, wow, I have never seen anyone like her before. Not in the Port Authority bus terminal. She's stunning. Yeah. And then he follows her.
Jeez.
Because he's a creeper. But it's funny because he...
No Riz.
Yeah, no Riz. Peter Parker Riz, nah. And yeah, he follows her and not... It's funny because he's so self-aware that even in the narrative, he's thinking like, oh, I'm going to follow her just because I want to make sure that she's safe. And not because I'm a pervert. He says pervert. I'm pretty sure he says pervert.
Gosh.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, Pete, what's going on? So
Good
even in the
lordy
80s,
lordy.
yeah, even in the 80s, he's still kind of popping in a funny way. But so he goes and he follows her, but not only because she's beautiful, but because she's also triggering his spider senses. So this is the real reason. He's like, wait, there's something going on. So he's tingling. He's tingling. His Peter tingle is going off. And so Monica seems to be walking with purpose, but she's going toward a bad part of town. So of course he's more inclined to follow her for that reason. And so on cue, almost, she's mugged by two people.
Oh man.
Because she's well dressed, she's beautiful, and she's by herself.
Yeah.
And so she gets ambushed by these two muggers. And one guy pulls her from behind in a chokehold. The other guy like reaches for her purse and takes off. And whereas any other character might just be like, oh no, my purse.
No.
She like legit kicks or tries to defend herself and she runs after the guy. And then here comes Spidey, like in the nick of time to save her. He's fully clothed in his uniform. He comes and takes one out, gets the purse, and then finds her that she's actually actively protecting herself. And so when she's cornered, she's hunkered down. He finishes the job, but she's unaware that he's there. And she takes a swing and actually knocks him out or knocks him down.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh no, and so she takes off and it cuts to this like crazy silhouette of like, she's on the Empire State Building and she's having a deep emotional like thought.
Okay.
And looking out at the sunset hitting New York City.
As one does. And then that's like the perfect interlude for her origin story, her true origin story. And so this is when we're revealed that Monica came from New Orleans. So she was actually part of New Orleans police. She was part of the police department, a lieutenant. And so she goes in to see her captain or whatever the superior's title is, and she's essentially trying to make a name for herself, get the role, get the promotion that she deserves. Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah,
Jeff and
yeah.
I especially have been there. And so she's standing her ground and she's like, hey, why did this police officer get the role?
Yeah.
When I do twice the work, I get twice I do everything better.
Yeah.
I deserve this role. And the chief, I guess, he straight up says, he's like, oh, well, he's just better for the job. And your methods are a bit too unorthodox for us. And so she basically gets in his face. And again, like I said, spicy. She's so spicy.
Yeah.
She's like, you could just say it's because I'm a woman. Like, you don't have to, you don't have to play. Like, it's because I'm a woman. And he's like, well, that ain't the only thing. But yeah, that's part of it. And so she storms out. She's like ready on a rampage. She's like, no, that's not good enough for me. She goes back to her office and she's met with this old man who goes by the name Professor Andre Leclerc. And so it ends up that he was actually a friend of her grandfather's. And he tells her about this whole story about Oh, there are two men by the name of Generalissimo Ernesto Ramirez and Felipe Picaro, who are trying to weaponize this technology that the professor helped create. And so Picaro, in particular, was the professor's former assistant. So he's essentially taken the tech, and they're like, "We're gonna do bad things with this tech." It didn't mean to sound like a weird version of Stanley, but so it's essentially technology that draws energy from multiple dimensions, and it creates like a newfound energy that has the power of an atom bomb and then some. So he's like pleading with her. He's like, "I've tried other government officials, I've tried other police departments. No one will listen to me. They all call me a crazy old man." And Monica,
of course.
and Monica is so she again unorthodox that she's like, "Oh, I'll take it. Let me help you." And so she actually puts in the effort to help this funny old man who doesn't really have a basis for any of it, but she's willing to take the challenge and figure this out. And especially if it's legitimate, she wants to save whoever she can save, because like many of our great heroes, she's a hero deep down.
Yeah.
And so, I put on my notes bikini LOL, because like the next scene over,
Yeah.
they cut to like they're in a yacht, not a yacht, they're in a speedboat. They're going across the river, and quote unquote, again, unorthodox, she's in a bikini. She's like straight up in a bikini with an oversized like button-up shirt that's open.
Sure, yeah.
And they're in this speedboat together, and they're going to this what kind of, I don't know, some ocean vessel, sea vessel, big ship.
Okay.
Big ship. To come to kind of like what is the word? They want to approach whoever is taken, the two guys and their guys who have taken the tech. The bad guys. They're there to talk to the bad guys. And so the professor kind of, sneaks on board, whereas Monica gets the attention of the soldiers.
Yeah.
And at first they're like, "Who goes there?" And they have like their guns out. And then she's like, "Hi, fellas."
Of course.
And she's just like tea for days, just tea spilling for days.
Yeah.
She's like right out there. And it's racy for an 80s comic. I was just like, yo.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And so she distracts them. And she's like, "Oh, can someone help me? I need to communicate with somebody on land." Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, "Yeah, sure, come aboard."
Yeah, not sketchy that you're just on this thing in the middle of the ocean. Sure.
Exactly. It's something straight out of Miami Vice. And so she gets aboard the ship, and she makes her way to Philippe himself. So this is the professor's assistant. And she essentially starts to woo him so much that they actually stop to have a picnic in the middle of this entire scenario. And then the alarms go off. And when the alarms go off, it's the professor attempting to destroy the mechanism.
Yeah.
And so, of course, all the soldiers, all the army guys, whatever they are, they all like scurry to this one area, the operative room or whatever it was. And they find the professor and seize him, and they're like, "Oh, you're trying to overtake the controls again, and like we told you, we're going to destroy the eastern seaboard." They're like really like they want to destroy things. They just want to blow things up, and so Philippe is particularly like annoyed because he fell for Monica just being sexual. Trying to seduce him, essentially. And so they get into it, and he's like, "You know what? I'm done. I'm gonna launch, or I don't know how you would even like what the correct term would be, because he has to like hone all of the energy that this tech has like been able to conduct, and then disperse it. So I don't know if it's like, it's not necessarily like a missile or anything. It's like almost like a giant laser gun, if you will.
Sure, like an EMP almost, I guess.
I guess so. An EMP is actually a really good way of saying it. And so Monica, once again, is diving in, headfirst into the danger, and she just like starts pounding on it with her fists. She starts breaking the control panel.
Yeah.
And it explodes. And everybody gets taken down. But the crazy thing is that Monica is almost immediately transported back to the port. And she finds herself in a warehouse. And she's dizzy and she's like sparking and stuff. You know, it's like really, she's still in her bikini.
It's hilarious.
But coincidentally and thankfully, she's transported into a warehouse that happens to have a bunch of New Orleans Mardi Gras costumes.
Yeah.
And so she's like, oh, I need to get back and help the professor, but I need some clothes first. And so she rummages through the costumes, and what does she find? She finds parts of costumes that she then puts together to create her Captain Marvel outfit. So that's the funny thing. This is supposed to be
like a Mardi Gras type of thing.
Yeah. And so in the film, there's that part where they get the upgrade on Aladdin. When they all get their new costumes. And she has those things under her.
Oh, the little flaps.
The flaps.
Yeah.
These are the flaps.
Yeah.
And so there's supposed to be a Mardi Gras. So she that's how she pulls together her costume, her first costume.
Wow.
In the comics. She goes back to the ship. The professor has already been beaten down. There's clearly been some chaos that has ensued because men have fallen. And but she comes in, she saves the day, she closes this portal that the
energy thing opened.
That the thing opens, and it didn't swallow her whole, so it actually altered her DNA a bit because the first blow changed her DNA. The second blow then mutated that already genetic mutation.
Yeah.
So she upgraded herself within the span of one issue.
Wow.
Which is kind of nuts. And so as this is all happening and it's coming to a conclusion, she's stopped the bad guy.
Yeah.
She gets the professor and she's able to usher him out, even though he got like a shot in the shoulder or something. She's able to take him away. And as she's leaving, one of the soldiers, in Spanish, it appears he's speaking in Spanish, and he goes, "Captain." He called her his captain because the professor, I'm assuming he speaks in a French accent because he always says like, "Oh, mon ami, my captain, my captain." He calls Monica his captain, even though she's like, "I'm not a captain." He's like, "No, but you are my captain." So the Spanish guy is thinking in his head, "Oh, he called her captain. She saved us." And he's like, "Haha, saved all of us." And then he says out loud, he's still like affected by the explosion. So he's a bit dizzy.
Yeah.
He has little stars around his head. And he's like, "Captain es maravilla. Captain Maravilla." And so the next day, or whenever this is, the professor's like, "Oh, I don't know if you've seen the news." And he pulls out a newspaper. And the headline says, "Navy investigates explosion. Who is Captain Marvel?"
Wow.
So she got her name because the soldiers were like,
Marvel.
She's a marvelous captain. And so that's kind of how her namesake comes about.
Wow.
And so very quickly, before we move on, despite the current usage of Captain Marvel in pop culture, Monica's namesake in the comics did not stem from Carol, nor the original Marvel. She takes on the name thanks to the newspapers. And so she was like, okay, well, why not? And also because Marvel, who was Captain America, died of cancer. It's a completely different storyline.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about it, but there was no Captain Marvel. So she was like, all right, well, good timing for me. I'm a captain now. And she takes the name. And then later, Monica changed her code name because of Genus Vel, who was Marvel's son. And he wanted to be known as Captain Marvel, like his father. And so then Monica changed her name to Photon. But then Genus Vel was like, I want to be Photon. And so she's like, all right, fine. So then she changed to Pulsar. And then she became Spectrum. So she's more recently known as Spectrum.
Yeah.
But it's like, dude, like this poor woman cannot keep her own name because they keep intermingling. The Marvels like keep changing names, but it kind of runs in the family in a weird way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very strange. But in the comics, she is Spectrum. Whereas in the movies, she is Photon, who of course is portrayed by Teyonah Parris and by Akira Akbar as a child. First seen in Captain Marvel and then last seen in The Marvels. So yeah, how much do we love Teyonah Parris? 'Cause
She's so great.
I love
Yeah,
her.
she's so much fun. She just gets it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I love her.
Just a
And
true
I mean,
delight.
even better in the Marvels.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to it in her powers and stuff, but
Sure.
she was
So good.
so yeah.
Yeah, so like a quick rundown. She was a little girl who hung on her aunt's every word. And then at some point during her young adulthood, Maria, her mother, got diagnosed with cancer. And she was a victim of the blip, as shown in WandaVision, missing Maria's death entirely by 2 years. Still one of the best. Oof. Like every time they show a blip scene, it's always kind of wild because they're so perfectly inserted.
You're kind of like, whoa, that really happened.
That really happened. Yeah. And Monica and Yelena's are both so high on like, wow, like that's the way you do it. And Monica's especially is just so heartbreaking because like 1 minute her mom is there, next minute it's just chaos. People are like appearing and it's like awful. And yeah, the fact that like when I remember watching, I like immediately started crying because it was she played it so well too.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of wild to think that like WandaVision was like 3 years ago at this point, which is like, wow.
Yeah. Was it end of 2020?
Pretty much. Yeah. Right.
End of 2020, early 20, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Because I guess it was fall 2020, I guess. Right.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, so incredible. And so she's really shown like depth of character in the few years that we've seen her on screen, or even the few projects. We've only seen her in 2 projects at this point. And so in the MCU, she is not a member of the New Orleans Police Department, but instead she is a member of the U.S. Air Force. And she joins SWORD, which now has an acronym title thanks to the Marvels, Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Division.
I'm never going to remember any of these.
I know, these are harder.
Dude, I barely remembered SHIELD. And then there was Saber.
Yeah.
And then there's
Sword.
And then Sword.
Yeah.
Was Saber the one in WandaVision, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Saber's the one that's in space. SWORD is the one that's in WandaVision.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, look at
and
that.
SWORD didn't have like an acronym
Yeah,
for a
yeah,
while.
yeah.
And then Saber didn't have an acronym for a while. They were just like,
Yeah,
we
see?
don't know. Yeah.
Never going to know.
Exactly. And so Monica joined SWORD. And then, and then like Jeff said, she walks through one of Scarlet Witch's hex fields. And so there is an actual terminology for this wall that Wanda created. And so it's known as a CMBR, a cosmic microwave background radiation wall,
Nice.
which then imbued Monica with the light-based powers. And so like the comic books, it's like Monica in the comic books forced her hand onto this operative screen and then like broke into the power that way. Whereas in the MCU, she did she push herself? No, she didn't push herself in first. The first iteration is when Wanda pushes her out, right? When she gets extracted from the world and then she pushes herself back in.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Oh, no, the first time. Sorry. What am I saying? When she and Jimmy Woo approached I was going to say Wandaville,
Westview.
and then she touched the sign and then she gets zapped in.
Yes.
That's the first
Yeah, she gets
part.
like sucked in.
Yeah, she gets sucked in. And then the second time is when she pushes through the field wearing the spacesuit.
Yes.
Or whatever suit that is. So when she did that, the first time it imbued her with the powers, but the second time did. Then the third exposure to the radiation is what mixed her DNA. Mm-hmm. So it's the in and out, and then that final time is really what mutated her, I guess, whatever you want to call it, which is more or less what the power we see in the Marvels is, where she's able to like act as living light in a weird way. And how she can, it's funny because like, speaking of first and second viewings, like I didn't realize till the second viewing, like that she was just kind of phasing her hand through the very first scene when they're fixing the exterior of the space shuttle. I was like, oh, I just thought she was touching stuff, but then I was like, oh wait, she's literally putting her hand through it. I'm like, oh, so they really introduce you to
right away
her abilities.
Yeah, right away.
Quick. Yeah. And so after the events of WandaVision, she joined Fury's Saber Station, which is the Strategic Aerospace Biophysics and Exolinguistic Response Station. If you can remember either of these, even one of them, I'll be so impressed by you because I can't.
I mean, I barely remembered SHIELD.
Strategic Aerospace Biophysics and Exolinguistic Response.
Nope.
But wow, right?
Nope.
Or Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Division. That one's easier.
Yeah, that one is a little easier.
And so yeah, she then later reunites with Aunt Carol thanks to the power entanglement with Kamala Khan. And then she remained unnamed by the end of the film, but those pops that we got at the fan event, mine definitely said Photon on it.
Yeah.
So she's Photon. They just
won't say it.
They won't say it.
You never name drop.
Yeah. So yeah, excellent portrayal all the way through. I'm again like another character that they've really, I think people like, she's so underrated. Like I think people need to focus more on how great she is rather than how badly they think of whoever else. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Tiana does with her in the next iteration of whatever she's in.
I mean, yeah, we'll get to that when we get to it in this episode. But yeah.
Where do you? I think we talked about this already in our review episode. But where do you think she's going to pop up next? Do you have an idea? I can't remember.
Could be Deadpool.
Deadpool, right?
I mean, that would make the most sense.
Yeah, I agree. Actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Pop quiz time.
Crap.
Pop quiz.
Last one.
Last one of two. I have two questions for you in this one.
Oh no.
So second to last pop quiz of the year. Can you, Geoffrey?
Nope.
Name at least 3 of the code names that Kamala pitched to Monica in the Marvels.
Oh my god.
And she did a lot.
She did.
She did a lot.
She's like, oh, so what's your name? And it's like, what's like, do you have a code name?
How about? And what about?
Something with phase? I feel like something with no.
No, not quite.
Spectrum? Was Spectrum one?
Spectrum. You got Spectrum. I kind of gave you that one, but Spectrum for sure.
No, she never said Photon. No, they never said Photon yet.
Nah.
Oh my gosh. Transparent Girl?
I mean, not too far off.
I forget. Oh my god, that movie was so jam packed.
Yeah, and she's so fast.
Yeah, she said it really fast. I remember the scene too.
Yeah, she says so many names in such little time.
Because I remember Monica being like, "I don't need one."
Yeah.
You know, and so.
And she does say it. She did pitch her twice.
Yeah.
So she pitched her a few names or 1 or 2 names at first, and then in Aladdin, she straight up said like 8.
Oh, what about that? What about? Nope, I'm lost. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was too locked in the movie to.
Yeah. But a hint is that 2 of them.
Did she say Spectrum? Did I say Spectrum?
You said Spectrum.
I said
already.
Spectrum.
2 of them are existing characters. That's your hint.
Oh.
I have the full list.
I know, yeah. Damn, what did she say?
They're really good ones too.
Oh my god!
If you don't remember one of these, I'll never forgive you.
Dude, it's been a while. I'm also I'm waiting for it to come on Disney Plus so I can rewatch it again because I really want to rewatch it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What was she like? No, I can't. It's been a while.
Yeah?
It's been too long.
Yeah?
I am. Yeah.
Okay, well, you got one, so I'll give you that. But the complete roster of names that Kamala gave Monica in the Marvels included Professor Marvel, Nova, Pulsar, and let's just say Pulsar. But Nova is also an existing character. And so Richard Rider, Pulsar, Vision,
Oh,
And
sorry.
then Carol's
and then
like,
Carol
"Oh,
was
Vision."
like, and there was like, oh no, I think that's taken.
Yeah, she's like, oh wait, no, that's taken. Lieutenant Trouble.
That's
Yeah. Mistress Marvel. Dr. Bright. Spectrum Vision.
Spectrum Vision.
Light Lady. And Frequency.
Frequency.
Yeah. So you were like right there. A hair off. Just a hair off.
It's there. Yeah, I can't wait to. I think I'm going to be rewatching that as soon as it's
for sure.
like
Me
a lot.
too. I really enjoyed it. So
And because it's like a short movie, I think
Yeah.
it's like easy to like
exactly
ingest.
Yeah, I agree. So for powers and paraphernalia, so she's got a long list. Monica is imbued and not limited to enhanced physiology, including energy form, flight, superhuman speed, intangibility, invisibility, energy blast and absorption, appearance alteration, hard light form, size alteration, and energy source. And then similarly, Monica's powers on the MCU side include X-rays, gamma, energy, cosmic rays, infrared, and radio waves. So it's like all things encompassing when it comes to light.
Yeah.
Light and light
Like
power.
she can phase out light,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Kamala can create like
Yeah.
light fragments, whatever.
Yeah.
And then Carol's just,
Just light
OP.
sentient. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's interesting how they've kind of interwoven the three of them to like balance out and also complement each other in the MCU. Because it's not like, again, like we mentioned this in our Kamala Khan episode, because Kamala in the comics is not quite the same, or at least wasn't until this year, where she was like she was more adjacent to that of Mr. Fantastic
Yeah.
than she is this light-based, able to produce physical matter type of thing that she is now. So yeah, it's interesting that Monica is so powerful with light-based powers, but she also has this other, like Carol can't phase through things. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
she cannot.
She can't, but she's super powered, but she can't do a lot of these things that Monica can. And so it's also interesting that in the comics, like she has the force of multidimensional energy,
Yeah.
but still not the same as Carol,
No.
for instance,
I
who's
loved-
cosmic energy.
I love the way they showed her powers in the movie.
Carol or Monica?
Monica.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly same. Yeah, I thought she was just so great all around.
Yeah, like we said it like when we did the review for the Marvels, but the fight scenes, and there was definitely moments in the movie where I think Monica did like a move, and I audibly was like, oh,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow.
And you know what I liked about what Nia DaCosta had mentioned? I'm sure she's said this in many interviews, but she said it on stage that night as well before the film.
Yeah,
That Tiana was somebody, and probably the most shy person when it came to doing the physical combat
Really?
stunt stuff. Yeah.
Oh,
she,
yeah.
She said something like it was really crazy to kind of see the way that Tiana came in, like kind of apprehensive. And that's why like she's posted on her own Instagram, like her on
like-
the wire
like, yeah,
work and stuff,
testing all
and
that
she's
stuff.
always screaming.
yeah, that looks
like,
scary.
But Nia was like, she came around and she brought it that when you see her on screen, you believe
Yeah,
she's throwing that
Easily.
punch. Yeah. And it's like, dang, it's actually right. Like a true sign of a really great actress, because yeah, the way that Monica carries herself, like physically and also with her powers.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, she knows like she's got a handle on what she's doing, which is really incredible. And so when it comes to aesthetic, I just have one picture there. I didn't put a comparison for you, Jeff, because you don't really need it at all. But
Yeah.
But yeah, so throughout the majority of her tenure in the MCU so far, Monica is often depicted wearing blue or black and white. And we saw this from the get-go in Captain Marvel, as well as in WandaVision, like the groovy 70s era. She was wearing a blue, like a dark navy blue shirt with a white jumper and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're doing the thing where they wear the colors of their superheroisms until they actually get the official suit, which we see in the Marvels. Yeah, and it's pretty darn accurate.
I mean, yeah, that last one on the right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what's kind of wild to me, because I'm like, they've already gone so comic book accurate with her in the Marvels. I'm like, how do they glam up like this outfit?
I mean, I know this is like a hot take, but I guess it depends on the character that they're showing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm not like, I never get too mad if a character's outfit is not that different from one movie to the next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Obviously there are a couple like times where it's like okay, like when it comes to Spider-Man, like you kind of expect maybe a new costume, not as often as people think.
Yeah.
Same thing with Cap, but it's also just like, it's so like, I feel like you don't have to upgrade their costume every single time you see them.
I agree.
But I think it looks good. Like if it works, it works. And if there's any smaller upgrade, sure. But I mean, the power is all within her.
Yeah.
Like the suit isn't her power.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great way of saying it, actually.
In my opinion, like you're not
I agree.
like Iron Man makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a totally different
technology.
Yeah, like you have to upgrade technology. But when it comes to a suit that just is able to handle your powers, I think that's okay. I mean, like when we think about like the Fantastic Four suits, I think of the original movie where Reed Richards made all the suits to adapt to their powers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all pretty much you need.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I think because I thought the same of Carol, right? And then in this film, they gave us 2 new suits, one of which was like dull. So that was the whole point, was that it was supposed to look worn down. And then when she gets the upgrade from Aladdin, it's like the bigger star and it's fit. And so the most I could see them actually doing with Monica would be that they just try to make it slimmer and fit her better. But it already fit her really well. So again, who knows? It might just be a hairstyle, honestly. But yeah, also a shout out to costume designer Lindsay Pugh, who apparently the Marvels was her first project.
Oh, wow.
Her first Marvel project.
Okay.
So that's her actual first costuming film for the franchise or for the studio. So cheers to her. Did a great job. And then that brings us to family, friends, and affiliations. So this is where we're going to start to see a little bit more of a divide between the 2 versions of the character. Right off the top, we have Frank and Maria Rambeau in the comic books. And so both have less than 20 notable appearances in the comics, respectively. So I think Maria has like 13 or 15 actual appearances
In the comics?
Yeah,
Wow.
and that could be as little as 1 frame. You know what I mean? Like it's just an appearance.
Yeah.
And they've mentioned her only like a handful of times that she's not in it. Same for Frank, but long story short, or not so long, Frank and Maria met and both served in the U.S. military. And Frank joined the New Orleans Fire Department after retiring. And so they were essentially doting parents who only wanted the best for their daughter and her well-being. And so when Monica joined the Avengers, after she basically is like, I don't want to be a police officer anymore. She resigns at the end of her origin story, and she decides to do better things with her life. And she, with the advice of Spider-Man as well as the Fantastic Four, she ends up joining the Avengers, and she finds her purpose that way. And so Frank and Maria were like, oh no, we don't want you to get hurt. Oh, you better take care. You know, like they just really want to dote on her. But that's it. Like we don't hear about or from them much more than that. Other than her father has sort of a heart defect or something.
Oh,
He's
okay.
got like a bad issue with his heart. But other than that, yeah, they're not at all like in the MCU because we don't even know of Frank.
Yeah.
We just know Maria. And so speaking of Maria, portrayed by the amazing Lashana Lynch, she in the MCU is a very different story. She is the founder of the Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Division, otherwise known as SHIELD, once served as the U.S. Air Force, in the U.S. Air Force as well. And her military status in the comics was added after the film came out. So they did the old, let's make the comic book like the film version. And so when she gained relevance because of the film, they're like, okay, let's bring Maria back for a little bit. But this time she's going to be from the U.S. Air Force. And we're going to give her a good rank.
Yeah.
Because, Lashana just made her so dang likable in the films. I loved her so much. It's actually interesting and difficult to reconcile that, she doesn't have presence in the comics. Like,
really?
They sold it so well that, they've been together through the Air Force and they were partners. None of that is consistent with the comic. Yeah. And of course, we haven't talked about Maria yet, like in general.
Yeah.
We probably could, but just
maybe
FYI.
down the line for sure.
Yeah, I hope. Oh, yeah, because we're going to have binary to deal with. And so in the MCU, also, she's seemingly a single mother, and there's no father mentioned or established throughout the entire series of stories that she's in. And she is, for the most part, the original Photon, and it was on her aircraft.
Yes.
So you see that, like that was the whole thing, was that she was Photon. That's kind of where the, understandably so, Monica pulls her name from. And so from there, it goes into the friends, more or less, or associates were applicable. So Jimmy Woo, no notable connections in the comics whatsoever. Jimmy Woo was a very different person in the comics, so that doesn't strike me too surprisingly. But Jimmy Woo in the MCU is portrayed by Randall Park. First seen in 2018's Ant-Man and the Wasp. Last seen in 2023's Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which is kind of wild. So he's been around for 5 years already. He's already lived half the average tenure in the MCU.
That's crazy, yeah.
Right? And so in the MCU, Jimmy Woo is FBI agent who co-opted with Monica during the Westview investigations. And he was basically a liaison along with Darcy Lewis, portrayed by Kat Dennings, for Monica when she was trapped in the Westview eras.
Yeah.
I thought they had a great chemistry in the show. Like they were on screen together a couple of times, but yeah,
it was cool to like pair them together.
Yeah,
like, especially for that show. You're like, oh, I wonder who's gonna be in this show, and you're like, oh, okay,
it's Jimmy Woo.
Like, oh my god,
I love Jimmy Woo.
Yeah.
And then there's Nick Fury, of course. So in the comics, Captain Marvel rapidly earned full Avengers membership at one point. I believe Monica's Captain Marvel actually ended up leading the team for a very brief time.
Oh, okay.
Very brief period of time. But yeah, Nick and Monica took part in several missions together. And I forgot I wrote this. Such as saving Nick Fury and the President from Plant Man.
Not Plant Man.
Plant Man.
Oh my god, they would have a name for everything.
Yeah. No, he's a little scary. Look at this guy. Plant Man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's no Groot. He is actually kind of like.
Is that MCU's Poison Ivy?
Oh, I mean, actually. Yeah, I guess if you had to choose, yeah. So
that's hilarious.
That's another that's another big baddie that we might see in the not so distant future, depending. Man, if James Gunn was still around, he'd put him in a movie. and
we'd care about that that person. Oh.
Amazing. And then on the flip side of things, Nick Fury, portrayed in the MCU by, of course, Samuel L. Jackson. United by sword and saber operations, though not on screen until the Marvels, which is interesting to think about, because I think it was at the end of WandaVision when Monica is like all said and done, and then is it a scroll that comes to her and is like
in WandaVision?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a scroll. Yeah. Who wants to speak to you?
Yeah.
And he's up there.
He's up there. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
then Fury becomes a bit of a mentor for Monica, especially knowing the common thread between her family and Carol. He kind of played like he was kind of like a catalyst for many things when it came to the Marvels. All three of them individually as well as together. But I did like their dynamic, especially, Sam Jackson is just good with everybody. Like it's not
You
even
can
a
have
joke.
you can have chemistry with anyone.
Anybody. Oh my goodness, especially kitty cats. And then there's Kamala Khan. And so in the comics, it's surprisingly not much notable crossover. Not until very recently, especially. It's another case of where the films, again, are affecting the comic books where they didn't really have a lot in common. Because, again, Monica in the comics isn't named after Carol. She had her own version for the name.
But now there are going to make comics,
now,
probably.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there is. There's been a couple already. And so, their common thread is Carol at the end of the day. And so the trio have co-opted in various versions of team-ups with other superheroes, but hadn't really been sort of like an exclusive trio until the last 3 to 5 years, maybe, if even that. That's being pretty generous, if you ask me. But they have I think 1 or 2 titles in the last year or so. Really fun, to be expected. Like again, like Kamala's how you can expect her. Carol's a kind of a hard ass, but Monica's even tougher in a weird way. But they all get along together really well, which sounds about right. And then of course Kamala Khan in the MCU, portrayed by Iman Vellani. The amazing Iman Vellani.
She's amazing. She's even like the best in person.
Yeah, for sure. Right. I'm like, just stay pure and wonderful. Just keep going.
She's going to run the MCU at some point.
Yeah, I love it. I'm down for it. I'm ready for it. And then, where Nick was sort of the mentor for Monica sort of became a mentor for Kamala. Yeah. In the process of it all. And then, they two connected through Carol as well as their light-based powers. Mm-hmm. It was great to kind of like, because, with a character like Kamala, having her origin story and her fleshing out her powers through her own miniseries, being thrust into this full-fledged film of like superhero goodness. Yeah. So she's it's almost like they take that long version and they're like, how do we shorten it? Yeah. And give her the same sort of like learning curve, but in a shorter time. Yeah, yeah. And so Kamala learns very quickly thanks to Monica, and again, like these incredible fight scenes that they do together.
I mean, yeah, she's almost kind of like, almost like how Tom Holland Spider-Man first like intro, just like got thrown into a fight, and you're like, all right, and he said, what do you want me to do? It's like, just do what we discussed, web them up.
Hey, have you seen that old movie?
Jesus, Tony, how old is this kid? And then same thing with Kamala. She's like, oh, she's alongside her hero, but also like, but I might actually die. So
what did she say? She's like, I can't fly. Yeah, like it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah, you just throw into the, and then I think I talked about it in our Marvels review where she can't save everybody on that scroll kind of like hideout refuge. Yeah, like she's like, well, everyone's gonna like you, and then Carol's like, we save who we can save, and you live with the and it's just like, what? Why can't we save? It's like we can't. Yeah, like it sucks, but yeah. So. Yeah. Being a superhero is tough.
It's super tough. And yeah, it was interesting because like Monica and Carol were almost like good cop, bad cop in a lot of ways. Because Monica would kind of give her the vibe without saying too much, but Carol would like assert the dominance of like, I'm going to tell you why this is bad. But then of course on Aladna, Kamala and Monica just like vibe in everybody's like thoughts. Yeah. And I loved the part where like, what does she say to her? She's like, what is your fanfic? What did she say? Oh yeah. Yeah. She's like, where does this fall in your Captain Marvel fanfic or something like that? It's just like, yeah. Come on. I love the part where during that whole Princess Marvel scene, like Monica straight up has 2 drinks in her hands double fisting drinks and she's just swaying, and then Kamal is just like starry eyed. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
She's the best.
Yeah, they're great together. And so I don't know, kind of excited. I'd like to see them all together again, but I don't know. Maybe it won't be just the three of them anymore. Like it might just be, different versions of them with other characters.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. And then of course that leaves Carol Danvers. And so it wasn't until just a few years ago that the two became close in the comic books. And again, because of their similarities. And so, yeah, this is like, we're talking last 5 to 10 years. Like, even though Carol has been around since 70s, and Monica's been around since the 80s, like they didn't become actual friends until this modern era. And again, much ado probably to the films. And so, to be expected, they've undoubtedly teamed up with many times with other Marvels, as well as between Monica and Carol themselves. They've even teamed up collectively with both the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy to help Carol defeat some of the big baddies in the books. And so I mentioned, or we even discussed in our Carol Danvers episode, Carol was kind of more or less a Guardian of the Galaxy for a while. And so that just brings a whole intergalactic cosmic level to all of these characters. And so for Monica to be part of that sort of collective isn't surprising because her powers are insane.
Yeah.
So it tracks. It totally tracks. And then I put for Carol Danvers in the MCU, portrayed by Brie Larson, I put we all know. So let's just talk about this. LOL. Yeah. So what are some of your thoughts on the dynamic between and the growth between these characters in only 2 films?
Yeah, I love the growth
films.
because obviously we all know because they saw Carol leaving and helping other galaxies.
Yeah.
They both saw it differently. Like Carol was like, I'm the only one that could probably, help these other galaxies.
Yeah.
Whereas Monica is like, well, we waited for you.
Yeah.
And like you were never here. Or I mean, she did come that one time when she found out that Maria was, had cancer and everything.
Yeah.
But to Monica, it's like, where were you?
Exactly.
So they both are validated in how they feel and but to see them like I felt that awkward tension in the movie where Monica was like, no, I don't want to talk to her, not like this. Yeah. And then I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, right.
And then the whole power switching happened, and then I was like, I mean, to me it was like, oh, this is gonna build up to a point where it's Maria or it's Monica and Carol in the same room, and like, what's that gonna be like for both of them, And then obviously we get that in the Jersey part, and then Carol's like, hey, and then Monica's like, hi, and then she's like, okay, well, we have to let's figure this out. We have to figure this out. So I love the growth immediately. Like they didn't waste time with it. There's like, look here, like this is how I felt and why I felt that way. This is what I did. This is why I felt this way. And then it was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, let's do this. So yeah, I love it, and I hope we see more of them together at some point.
Yeah.
But excited to see where they all end up.
Yeah, I fully agree. God, it's great because like even though Monica was portrayed by 2 people, you'd still feel the connectivity because Brie is a great actress. Like you feel the connection she had with Akira Akbar and then with Tiana Paris as an adult, and it's still the same sort of energy, which is kind of wild because like that's like you forget like, oh yeah, it's not the same person.
Yeah,
but she consistently carried that. She really pulled together the thread of like, oh, she's trying to be the same auntie that she once was, but
which is crazy because I'm pretty sure Brie Larson and Tiana Paris are close in age.
Yeah, I think so.
I think, or at least like not that far off.
Not that far.
It's not like one significantly older than the next. So I keep forget. I was like, oh yeah, like Monica sees Carol as like Auntie Carol.
Yeah, exactly right. Let me see. Brie Larson. Oh yeah, actually Tiana is like 2 years older.
Oh wow.
Less than 2 years older, yeah. So yeah, it's interesting, that they, but again, testament to the actresses. But I think the way that they developed this particular bond over the course of, let's be real, one film is really believable, and it does make sense for this version of the characters, right? Like again, like this version of Monica has gone through a different route, and we're really introduced to her family tree, which is really just two people in a way that gives her so much depth, and then works perfectly with Carol and kind of how stoic and cold and serious that character generally is. But she does have her moments. But a big reason of why she has moments is because of Monica and Maria.
Yeah.
So I kind of love that. Like, again, this doesn't happen too often in the Marvel universe, at least, in until recent times. But these leading heroes that confide more and find love within their families and found families rather than partners, right? Like they don't have to have, because they were going hard for a while. They were like, every major character we're introducing, they're going to have a partner.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, come on. Like that doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect example of why that doesn't have to be. Because like Carol, like people always like, okay, but who's she dating? And it's like, it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter. She's married.
She's also married, which is funny because they played everybody, right? They played everybody like in a weird way. Like,
so funny.
Like not only is she not actually dating or is she dating Valkyrie, and she's married. If anyone could have seen that face that Geoffrey just made, what is that? Who does that face? What character?
Maybe they're just good friends too, man.
No,
they
for
can just be
sure.
good friends.
You never know. But yeah, like that whole thing, and that's a thing that Guardians really got right, was that it wasn't just Peter and Gamora. It was like really the collective.
You
love
just
of
need
that
you just
group.
need meaningful relationships.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I really love how they've carved that. And I think that people who don't see that and just look past it or see through it are missing it entirely. Like they're missing the bigger picture. So nerds to you guys. I love this. I'm here for it. It makes me love Carol. So again, this is like, it's changed how I look at the character. So you got to give it to the Rambos, man. That brings us to our second pop quiz. Last one for 2023.
I mean, it's going to go just as bad as the first one.
This is an easy one. It's just one or the other.
That's what they all say.
In the comics, who held the Captain Marvel moniker first? Carol or Monica?
Or Monica?
Yeah.
I feel like this is a trick question.
Is it?
Like I feel like I know the answer, but I'm also like it's gonna screw me over.
We discussed this in our Carol episode too. But I didn't ask this question, but we have discussed it.
Oh my god!
So it's
I am an overthinker. Okay, you give me the least options, the less options you give me, the more I'm gonna be like, oh god.
Yeah.
Like my gut is saying Carol. Like just because but I think it's also me like oh,
you said Carol has had it longer.
Has had it longer or had it first?
First, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. First. Carol had it first.
That's what my gut is saying.
Okay.
But I feel like that's not the case here.
No, go ahead.
Can I phone a friend?
It's one or
Die.
I'm gonna say. Well,
wait. Okay. Oh my god. When did Captain? Okay. This is we do so many episodes and I have to remember all the origins of their first appearances and all when they first came out. But I feel like Carol has been there longer.
Doesn't mean she was Captain Marvel.
First.
Yeah. Bucky did not like that.
Sorry, Buck.
Sorry, Buck. It's okay. Go seeps. Oh, don't mind the flirkin', Jeff.
Because we just talked about earlier in this episode.
Yeah.
She got the moniker in the 80s. So, but what? Oh my God.
Right.
You know what? I'm just not going to answer it. You're going to tell me I can't be wrong.
Okay.
I'm not going to be wrong or right for this last question.
There you go. So
Monica.
it was Monica.
Yes.
So Monica has actually held the moniker as early. Again, the origin story came in 1982. She's had it since 1982. Whereas Carol, you got to remember, she was Ms. Marvel for a
Miss Marvel.
very long time. Long time until Kamala came in. Almost quite literally. And so Carol didn't become Captain Marvel until 30 years later.
Oh my gosh.
In 2012.
My God.
She's only been Captain Marvel for a decade.
Wow.
And Captain Marvel, the film, came out in 2018. 5 years ago. So that's kind of wild. Do the math. But yeah, so that's that. The more you know.
Wow.
As for notable adversaries, so Monica has a few dedicated adversaries in the comics, but they don't have full-fledged MCU counterparts. And so the first one is a character that people were speculating that Zoe Ashton was going to be in the Marvels, who is Moonstone, Carla Sofen. Obviously debunked, not happened. It did not happen at all. But there is rumors that she could pop up in the MCU in a future film, so we'll see about that. Another one is Blackout, aka Marcus Daniels, a wielder of the Dark Force. So, or the Dark Force, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that comes about in any manifestation. Other than that, we're just going to concentrate on the two major enemies that Monica encounters in both Disney Plus and the cinematic film. First off, Geoffrey's wifey, Wanda Maximoff.
Yes.
Sadly, there are no notable connections in the comics.
Yeah, well.
So there's not much to talk about there.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, again, it's one of those, by proxy, they're in the same panel because they're all Avengers type of thing, but nothing major, especially not to the extent of WandaVision, where, of course, she's portrayed by Elizabeth Olsen.
Yes.
And, quick recap. Wanda infiltrated Westview, New Jersey, controlling its citizens, including the newly absorbed Monica Rambeau, known simply as Geraldine, which was interesting. I forgot about that part. She was first introduced as Geraldine. I was like, what? And they're like, oh, she's going to be Monica Rambeau, by the way. Like, oh, okay. That makes sense. And then she was ejected after the birth of Billy and Tommy. And Wanda did the forever ominous head tilt of silence.
Kicked her out.
And then she managed to reemerge past the hex with the newfound rewritten DNA. And then she dabbled a little bit with Ralph Boner.
So good.
And the final confrontation before being recruited for Saber. Yeah, it's kind of wild thinking, but because again, I haven't watched it
in a while. Yeah. Well, I just think I think that's what I like about the MCU is sometimes if they don't have any connections in the comic book, they'll just pick. They're like, oh, who can we pair together and just bring them in and put them in an MCU project, and it's like oh, I would have never maybe like a comic fan, right?
Yeah,
they would have never thought oh, Wanda and Monica, interacting,
yeah.
So it's whoa, okay,
and it was kind of perfect,
and it makes sense,
because she was part of almost all the eras that Wanda had crafted for Westview, and so to kind of have her be this conduit of trying to get information as to why it's happening, but also leveling the field so that Wanda would come back to her senses and figure things out is also so pivotal for the character growth for both of them. Especially Monica, because it really shows her heroism. But yeah, she was super fun in WandaVision, and the Ralph Boner stuff. I forgot all about it until I was writing it up. I was like, oh my god, that's right. And so those two clearly have not had any interaction since, and I doubt they will. But it'll be interesting to see how they treat Wanda in the future, and if there will be any sort of crossover with new Wanda and how that might affect Monica. And she's like, wait a minute, What?
What happened here?
Yeah. And then that leaves us with Dar-Ben. So this is an interesting character because so many people, people were not at all well versed with High Evolutionary at all, right?
Yeah.
Unless you know classic comics, you're like, who is this guy? Same with He Who Remains. Let's be honest. Like Kang was not he's not a deep cut per se, but he is a character that was very classic, then disappeared, then reemerged in modern days. But Dar-Ben is kind of a deep cut, but also a weird one.
Yeah.
Because this is a gender bent character, and the character is canonically male, but a Kree soldier who challenged the Kree leader. There's this Kree leader in the comics. His name is literally Clumsy Foul Up. Clumsy Foul Up. So it's basically Clumsy Fuck Up is his name.
That's hilarious.
Which is kind of wild. It's a real story, a true story in the comic books. Clumsy himself was a less than competent crew member under a space pirate named Captain Reptile.
Jeez.
And of course, the spelling of reptile is edgy. It's Reptyl.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
And then Clumsy became leader of the Kree Empire by overthrowing a Skrull by the name of Contemplator, who sought to destroy the Kree. So again, this calls back to the legendarily long Kree versus Skrull war that's gone on for eons and eons and eons. And short story shorter, both Dar-Ben and his co-emperor were killed by Deathbird, empress of the Shi'ar Empire, a galactic royal family. I've mentioned Deathbird and her sister Lilandra a few times because Lilandra was the wife of Professor Charles Xavier at one point. Yeah. And so Deathbird is the crazy sister, the crazy baby sister, who is like a humanoid bird. They're like a family of royal birds, but they're like humans. But they have bird-like attributes. So her hair is like feathers, right? And so anyway, she's crazy and she killed him. So Dar-Ben did not live very long in the comics. And they also didn't have any really formal ties with Monica. So again, it's they're pulling together two unlikely scenarios to make something work. But it does work in the MCU, especially because of the Kree factor. So there it is. Boom, Kree. And of course, in the MCU, Dar-Ben, portrayed by Zoe Ashton, Tom Hiddleston's partner. First and last scene in the Marvels. We will not see Dar-Ben again. I'll tell you that much.
Rip.
A member of the fallen Kree Empire of Hala, the same home planet as Ronan the Accuser, as seen in the Guardians of the Galaxy film. And again, Kree. They're long-standing adversaries of the Skrulls. So this is a ages-long war that's just never-ending, and it shows in the film. And so Dar-Ben's whole thing was siphoning and stealing natural resources for Hala. What more can be said?
Because it was taken away by the Annihilator. I was like, damn. There was a small split second where I was like, damn, Captain Marvel really was
yeah, dude.
Screw, what was it? Oh my God. It's high, it's not High Evolutionary.
No. The
Big
higher,
Daddy. The higher something. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's gonna bother me.
Yeah. No, I'm not Googling it right now.
Google it.
No, I'm not.
Captain Marvel, higher. No, no. We're thinking of the tagline. What's the name?
Oh my gosh.
It's Diane. What's her face? Oh my God.
No, not that. The Supreme Intelligence.
Supreme. I was gonna say higher intelligence. I was like, no,
I'm gonna keep
higher.
that pause in there so people know that. Oh, they really know their stuff. We don't. We don't remember everything.
I know.
The Supreme Intelligence. The runner.
Supreme Intelligence.
They ran Hala,
Yeah.
and Captain Marvel swooped in. Was like, I'm done with you. Bing, bang, boom.
Yeah.
You're dead.
Yeah.
I'm also robbing. It's like,
yeah, she was. But this is what I appreciated about that is that it was another example of how Carol was like, I was doing the right thing, and then to Monica, she was like, I was doing the right thing. It was like they're both bad things, but she thought in her brain like,
Like,
I'm
yes,
doing the right
I am
thing.
destroying
Yeah.
the bad thing that ruined my life,
Yeah.
not knowing that it ruined the lives of a whole planet,
Countless others. Yeah. Which in turn then domino
which is
effects.
basically America. Anyway, I'll be here all week.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, so yeah, it's like a big deal, you know, like the whole butterfly effect of that, right? Like you know, the saying is that heroes and villains alike they're not born, they're made. And so Dar-Ben wasn't a bad person. Like in the flashback, you see that, you know, she was even wearing the Kree uniform that they all wore, the green uniform. So she was training to be a soldier until the Annihilator came and destroyed her planet. And then she was like, okay, screw this. I don't want to be a soldier anymore. I'm going to eventually grow and overtake the Empire and take the throne. And I'm going to lead these people. And I'm going to destroy other planets to get what our planet needs back. So it's kind of like, holy smokes. And it's all because of the Annihilator.
The Annihilator.
I don't like that name. Yeah, so Dar-Ben was great. Definitely more Carol skewing than Monica, but great villain for what her purpose was.
Yeah.
I think definitely underrated and overlooked in a weird way, but she did great. I thought Zoe was great as Dar-Ben. And again, served her purpose, gave to the storyline. Ta-da.
Yeah.
Finito. Great.
It's fine.
Yeah. Which, of course, unfortunately left Monica hanging high and dry in Earth 10006. Is it 1006? I think so. And with the X-Men, but that's okay. Because X-Men.
They're coming.
They're coming! And so, love interests. Monica is not a long-term relationship sort of person. But she has had two people in particular in the comic books that do not have MCU counterparts whatsoever. So we've not been introduced to either of these characters we're about to briefly discuss. But first off, there is Jericho Drum, known as Brother Voodoo. The two grew close during a team up alongside Blade and Luke Cage. Yo, that team up is so good. It's so good. Because like Brother Voodoo is exactly what he is.
That's crazy.
He's like a voodoo guy. Like, you know, there's a Doctor Strange, sure, there's a Wong, but there's a Brother Voodoo.
Like, does he have like a figure with him?
No, but he's got it's all based of the New Orleans vibe that they brought in. Yeah. And so with Blade and Luke Cage on top of that, you got this, like, I think they took out like New Orleans vampires at one point, which is like, oh, actually thinking about the game, I was like, what? So maybe there's a tie-in, but yeah, Brother Voodoo's he's a great character. He's not too often used in mainstream storylines, but I've enjoyed him where he's been. And then, you know, despite their chemistry, Monica wanted something far more casual and far less serious than Jericho. And he wanted a serious relationship, and so that ended their relationship. And then there's Adam Brashear, aka Blue Marvel. So this is the
How
one.
many Marvels are there?
That's the thing. They're basically like the Green Lantern Corps.
Oh my gosh.
Corps. Sounds better. Corps. Yeah, so it's like there's a whole slew of them, but they're just different in their own way. So Adam Brashear is the one that people were betting on, that he was going to make a cameo at the end of WandaVision, or he was going to make a cameo in Secret Invasion, or he was going to pop up in the Marvels somewhere, because he is like somebody that people are like, oh yeah, let's get another brother of color like to come in and like, you know, really pop things off, especially for Monica and the Marvels, you know. And so sadly, we have not seen him yet, but, you know, people have their fan castings here and there if you look him up. But as far as the comics are concerned, he is a scientist and a veteran whose powers originated from antimatter energy sources. Adam himself became a living, stable antimatter reactor with his superhuman abilities. So this could coincide with so many characters, like antimatter energy source, like... Dude.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. His prowess of matter manipulation is so strong, he was able to rearrange the photons in Monica's physiology to stop anti-photons from destroying her body, which essentially made her an immortal being of light in the comic books.
Holy.
So he bestowed upon her like immortality by rearranging her physiology.
That's insane.
Yeah, he's next level for sure. And then like Jericho though, Monica grew closer. They grew closer romantically. And then, you know, over the course of team ups, work friends with benefits. And
with benefits.
Yeah. But then she was like, I'm good. And then she just leaves.
Love
Get
that.
it, girl. Yeah. And so yeah, they're no longer together, but both of them, I believe, still hit her up every now and then, like, hey girl, how you doing?
You up?
Yeah, exactly.
The audacity.
That's funny. There's this mini series called The Marvel Divas that I really liked. It was very short. I think it was 4 issues, maybe 5 issues. And it was Firestar, Monica, Black Cat,
Whoa.
and God, who's the fourth? Hellcat. So the blonde girl from Jessica Jones,
Okay.
her,
Okay.
Black Cat, Monica, and Firestar. And so the whole thing is like they just kind of like became friends over this brunch or lunch, whatever, and they fight crime and they talk about men. It's so funny. It was one of the girliest things ever, but it was really good. Marvel Divas. It says it in the name. And so almost was. No other reports of who auditioned for the role have surfaced. I combed a lot of articles, nothing to be found anywhere. Though it was most definitely not the only one Tiana herself auditioned for. So she stated that she submitted many auditions for Marvel over the years, and she never landed a role until she got the call back for WandaVision. So it's like, who is she auditioned for?
I just wonder like how it goes now, because like
Yeah.
I feel like last couple maybe either this year or episodes recently where hasn't been much almost was, but more of like they kind of knew who they wanted to play this character, even if it was a smaller character that, you know, like, except for, I mean, but then again, we've done Kamala and we know that there was a lot of auditions for it, but we've only ever heard that Iman was up for it. Like there was never, I mean, also Marvel's really good at keeping secrets. So
Exactly.
you never know who's like auditioning specifically for a role.
Yeah.
You never hear like, ooh, these two or these three are
no.
it's always like,
Yeah.
this is who's going to play this in the next. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. It's
like-
so and it seems to be all digital too.
Yeah.
Because what was it, Iman?
She did it over COVID. She got the,
Yeah, but who was it, Iman, or was it Sochi who was like, oh yeah, my aunt or my grandma sent me the link, and I was like, what?
It was Iman. Yeah.
It was Iman,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
She said that's, yeah.
It's so bizarre. So it's like,
crazy.
how does the
How does the
does
information
it
even
do-
get out? How does it travel? You know, like
right.
That's crazy.
So Tiana has not. I mean, she I would imagine she probably auditioned for anything from Black Panther. She probably auditioned for a couple of bit roles even, and just like kept doing it, and they were like, oh yeah, but not this time, you know. And then she finally landed Monica, which I was like, heck yeah. I mean, great. That's probably perfect for her, to be honest. But yeah, it's actually getting harder to find anybody else because, yeah, like you said, it's like they just kind of go, okay, this person's gonna be the character.
Or I mean, they're really good at, you know, protecting like who they're auditioning.
Yeah, exactly. And they never surface until years later, like some of the ones that we've seen. But yeah, so future of the character in the MCU, thoughts?
Well, we now know
X-Men.
we now know she's stuck in
X-Men.
an X-Men universe.
X-Men.
With her mom that's not her mom.
Previously on X-Men.
Her mom is binary in this.
Binary.
It's so okay. That was like, I know people would take that out of context.
Yeah.
Her mom is the superhero binary
Yeah.
in this X-Men universe. I forget the number.
I think it's 10006. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I said this in our Marvels review that Monica's like probably like super like shell shocked.
I was one off. Sorry, 10005.
Okay. She's probably like, oh my God, Mom. And she's like, Mom.
The look on her face alone, I was like,
oh my God, I can't. Well, it's like put yourself in like a position of like, oh, your mom died. You're like, okay, and you're grieving it.
Trauma.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you're transported to this. You don't know where you are, and then you see your mom in full health, wearing a, and you're like
as young as you look.
Yeah, and it's like and then your mom is like, Mom.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no. I was like, she doesn't have a kid in this universe.
I love how you said that, and I was like, she doesn't know who she is. We were both like mortified.
I was like, no.
Yeah.
And then you hear a voice coming out, and then it's a boom, it's Beast, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Rocket.
So so now it's like in a how like is there going to be a point where like are they going to help her get back to her proper MCU world? Because I know MCU has left a lot of threads that have not been kind of acknowledged, which is fair. It's it's really hard to work that into future projects and have it make sense. So, but this one I think is definitely like a setup where, okay, the X-Men are here. Yeah. They exist.
Yes.
In the MCU.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, the next like logical place to see her pop up is in Deadpool.
Yeah.
Because they're probably
that'd be so good.
Like they're gonna obviously be universe hopping in the most Deadpool way.
Yeah.
So maybe either she makes a cameo or like is she gonna be pertinent to the story because she's stuck in an X-Men universe that has binary in it.
Right.
Which is insane because you go watch all the 2000s X-Men movies.
I know.
And you're like, wow, like binary's there.
Yeah, right. Like that's the nuttiest part to me too. Is like, wow, they just dropped her in the middle. Okay.
I mean, it's like it makes sense too.
Yeah.
It's logical.
In full-fledged, the most colorful costume that's ever hit that universe.
Yeah. So that's probably the next like logical.
No, for sure.
Time we see her is whenever they acknowledge. Is she going to get back to the proper MCU?
So therein lies the question: how do you think she's going to get back? Does she come back?
There's only one person in the world, in the universe, that can travel multiverses like that.
America? America?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only one person that can do that.
Which, by the way, sidebar, but also segue. Xochitl Gomez just won Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, yeah.
And also, we have not seen America Chavez since Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Because, we said this in our America Chavez episode, too. We said, I don't know if people realize she's literally the only superhero of her kind. Yeah. No one else can do what she does. And you can't birth another person that does what she does. Yeah. So she's the only person that can traverse the multiverse.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Or a
but it's a good one.
Or a TV.
I like that one.
or a TVA, but we don't know how the TVA is operating right now since obviously it's technically a new TVA. So no one knows how it's operating right now. Yeah. Only Loki knows and the 5 people in that room
You're
now.
You're blowing my mind. I didn't even
I watch the shows, people. Don't think I don't know anything. I don't just give reviews and just like shit on things.
No, you're right though. You're absolutely right. Because I think also by that proxy, since we have not seen what the TVA currently stands as, I don't think that's not the place for that.
Basically, the ending of Loki just stabilizes all the timelines, and that's all it does.
That's all it does.
But we don't know if there's workers, there's there's only 5 people in that room. Yeah. And one of them's Victor Timely.
That is also true.
So, I don't know. I don't.
The faces
I don't know if people realize what's really
true.
That's why I'm like, I feel like this is like
there's so many variables.
I feel like the end of Loki is like a soft reset for the MCU moving forward because
for sure.
timelines are reset. Yeah. And there's only one person that could traverse the multiverse. who's the choice, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, also there is rumors in Deadpool 3 that the TVA is involved. But you know.
Really?
Oh. I thought you knew that one. I thought you knew that one, Dai.
I didn't know that one, Jeff.
Well,
It's okay. It's Deadpool. Like at this point, the Smurfs are in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'll take anything and everything. It's like fine. I'm sure it'll make sense in the end.
I mean,
Like,
even like with all
Ryan
the stuff,
Reynolds
even all the
has
stuff
got
that I've
this.
seen leaked, I'm
Yeah.
also just like, how is like what's gonna get left on
Yeah.
the cutting room floor?
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Like this is gonna include every single freaking cameo that it's rumored to have.
And you know he needs his cut version, his director's cut version.
Like,
Excuse me as I hiccup.
So
I'm so
there's-
happy.
so like I said, yeah, it's either TVA,
Yeah.
but then
I like the America one though. I
But
think
yeah,
America
because-
makes a lot of sense.
because basically America Chavez is a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Like a villain was gonna be like, oh, I need her. Like Wanda was like, I need
Yeah.
her because
Yeah.
I want to go to a universe where my kids exist. Whereas Doctor Strange is like, no, that's
Yeah.
not the best thing to do here. It's not, and it's like,
Yeah.
So I'm like,
For sure.
I don't think people like.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen. People understand how big of an asset and a hero America Chavez is.
Yeah.
And now she has like a sling ring and everything. Now she can.
Yeah.
Who knows what she can
that's
do?
right. She's training in
Yeah, she's training in
Kamar-Taj.
Kamar-Taj.
Oh my gosh.
Like she is a
That's right.
sorcerer.
She's a sorcerer now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many things that could happen.
Like I feel like if there's one person that
Yeah.
can cameo in any movie and it makes sense, it'd be America Chavez.
Yeah, I agree.
Obviously, it's a kind of overkill because you're just like, oh, here we go, traveling another multiverse. But it's
Sure.
also just like, she's the only person that can do it.
Yeah.
Ah.
Unless they enlist the next man. But it's also like, who are they going to introduce?
I know.
Because none of the current, quote unquote, current ones could actually do that.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So,
We'll see.
Like I said.
The options are amazing. I can't wait.
yeah. So who knows what she'll pop up?
Yeah, I know. Oh, woo, woo, woo. Ready. It could be in less than a year, though, because that's
Yeah.
when Deadpool drops, summer 2024, right?
Yes, it is the only movie, right? Coming out.
next year. Yes,
Yeah.
aside Madame Web.
So Deadpool's the only movie coming out.
Oh, Zony. But yeah, so we shall see in due time. But before we go, some suggested reading for you. Of course, classic Avengers as well as her origin story and Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 16 from 1982. 1989's Captain Marvel standalone series by Dwayne McDuffie, Mark Bright, Stan Drake, and Paul Becton, as well as 2019 Strike Force from Teenie Howard, German Peralta, and Jordi Belair. And finally, but not least, 2023's Captain Marvel, Dark Tempest from Ann Nocenti, Paolo Villanelli. I know him. He's fantastic. And Javier Tartaglia. Tartaglia. Italian. End of the show. Thank you for listening, everybody. So next episode, with the holidays and the new year, we're happy to bring you our annual Marvel mashup of memorable moments from this season of the show. So join us in the new year. Well, before the new year, stay tuned for that. And then join us in the new year for our mini Marvel. It's going to kick off our 2024.
Woo!
So there should be some good stuff because we'll have Echo as well come in through the pipe. And then What If?
Oh yeah, it comes out in
Yeah.
December,
No, What If
January.
is January.
Okay.
So we'll be prepping for that.
Yes.
Well, maybe. I guess we're going to be right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's going to be full speed ahead into 2024.
Woo.
But last but not least, we are Groot. Salute to Patreon patrons: Joliz, Tyler, Chris, Ashley, Edgar, Jenny, Andrea, Ariel, Claire, Melanie, Nats, Sherry, Laura, Eve, Katie, Robin, Ed, and Andrew. Follow us on social at STRKCNTRST. And if you like what you hear, please review, rate, and subscribe.
Once again, thanks for listening. We will catch y'all in the next one.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
She could have taken out Thanos on her own if he hadn't initiated a blitz. I mean, Nobody else came close.
Well, I'd argue that Captain Marvel came close.